everyone! In today's video we're gonna see two new attributes in HTML. We're gonna see the ID attribute and the class attribute. But make sure to stay till the end of this video because this lesson is really very important, and because also I'm gonna show you how to use these attributes in CSS. These attributes actually they are really very useful and very important because they help us to select and grab one of our HTML elements and apply CSS to it. Like for example, let's suppose that we have 5 paragraphs and we want to just grab one paragraph and apply CSS to it, like to make this paragraph in another color or add a background color to this paragraph. So these attributes allow us to do that. So make sure to stay till the end and don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell to receive all of my videos and notifications. So as I told you guys, we're gonna see how to use class and ID attributes in HTML and CSS also, but please remember that class and ID are HTML notions, okay? So to add a class or ID attribute, it is really very simple. We will just do like this. Like for example, here we have 3 paragraphs and we're gonna add actually the class attribute to each paragraph like this. So we're gonna come here inside of the first tag and write class like this and give our class a name. Like this paragraph is about soccer, so I'm gonna give it the name soccer, okay? Like this, soccer. And after that, we're gonna keep going. We're gonna add classes to our other paragraphs. Like we're gonna come here and add another class like this. And I'm gonna give it the name candy because this paragraph is about candy, so I'm gonna just give it the name candy. And finally we can add also a class to this paragraph like this, and I wrote a small sentence about myself. I just said my name is Salma and I am making YouTube videos like this, so I'm just gonna give it my name, which is Salma, okay? So now we are done. We have added classes, attributes to each one of our paragraphs. Okay, so as you can see here, let me just go to the browser, to Google Chrome, refresh the browser. So here I have my 3 paragraphs. So let's refresh after adding the classes. Let's just refresh to see that nothing happens here because this class attribute does not impact our HTML page at all, okay? So it does not modify our HTML page or add something or remove something. It doesn't do anything like this. But how can this class attribute be useful for us? So let's imagine that, for example, for this paragraph, I just want this paragraph only to be in red, or to give it a background color which is green, or for example to make it in the center of the page or something like that, but only this paragraph. So how can I do that? So you're gonna tell me, well, it is simple. We're gonna just grab our paragraph, we're gonna select it. So we're gonna write the P selector and open our curly braces and close them, and then like for example, let's just give a color to our paragraph which is color red, like this, okay? And we are done. But if you notice, if we do that, let's go back to the browser to see what happens. Let's refresh. So you see, all our paragraphs turned into red color. But we want actually is only this paragraph to make it in red. Okay, so how can we do that? We can do that with the class attribute. And so what we're going to do is, instead of using the P selector, we're gonna use the name of the paragraph. So it's like if this class gives a paragraph a name, okay? So it's like if this whole paragraph, its name now is not paragraph, but it's soccer, okay? And the syntax actually is just to add a point in front of the name of paragraph, which is now soccer. So dot soccer, like this, and we can give it now the color red, okay? So let's go back to our browser and refresh now. And you see, only our first paragraph now is turned into red, and the other two paragraphs are still in black. So let's do the same thing to our other two paragraphs. Let's give them each a color. For example, let's say that for the second paragraph, which is this one, we give it a background color of, let's say, yellow, or let's say green. Okay? So what is the current name of this paragraph now? The name of this paragraph is candy. Okay? So we're gonna just put a dot in front of candy like this and open the curly braces and give it the background color green. Let's save everything and go back to the browser. And now let's refresh. So you see, only my second paragraph turned into green. The background is turned into green. The two other paragraphs still the same. So let's go back to our third paragraph and let's just align it in the center of the page. So our third paragraph, the name of our third paragraph now is Salma. Okay? So we can go back here inside of the style text and add the dot and write the name of our paragraph and just add the text align property, text align, and center, like this. Go back to our browser and do refresh, and you see only our text, our third paragraph is centered in the center of the page. Okay? On the other hand, we have the attributes ID. Okay? So let's just say here, for the third paragraph, I'm gonna change the class into ID. Let's say that for our two paragraphs, we used the class attribute, but for the third paragraph, we used ID instead of class. So the results will be the same because ID attribute does not impact our HTML page just like the class attribute. Okay? These attributes, actually class and ID, they don't impact our HTML page. But the syntax for the ID will be different. As you can see, for the class attribute, we have added the dot in front of the name of the paragraph. Okay? But if we use ID attribute instead of the class attribute, what we're going to do is, instead of the dot, we're gonna add the hash sign, like this. Okay? Because if we add only a dot like this as per the class attribute, let's just see what will happen on the browser. So let's refresh, and you see we have centered our text, but when we used the dot, the text is no more centered. Alright? Because the syntax for the ID attribute is to add a hash in front of the name of the paragraph, like this. And let's go back to the browser once again, refresh, and you see now our text is centered. So what is the difference between class and ID? So class, actually, you can find one name for different classes. Okay? For example, here, for the first paragraph, we gave it a name soccer, and for the second paragraph, we gave it a name candy, We could have just gave a name soccer to our first paragraph and to our second paragraph, like this. Let's delete this candy and replace it with soccer, like this. So for one attribute, which is class, we can have the same name, all right? Soccer and then soccer. But in this case, both our paragraphs will turn into red color, because remember here we have used the soccer selector and we give it the color red. So let's go to the browser and refresh and see. You see, we have both our paragraphs that have the red color. But for ID, there is only one ID. Okay? So, for example, if there is this paragraph and I used ID attribute and I give it the name Salma, I cannot use another paragraph, let's say, for example, this one, and let's just add a simple sentence like welcome to this course. So I cannot add another ID here and give it also the name Salma. Okay, there is just only one ID with a unique name. It's just like your first name and your last name. For example, if your first name is John, well, there is so many people that their first names are John also. If your first name is Jack, so there are so many people that have the same first name, which is Jack. But for the last name, there is only one person who has this last name. So it is exactly the same thing. For classes, so for example, if we need two paragraphs, like here we have 4 paragraphs, and if we need only 2 of them to be like red or green or yellow, we can use the class attribute and give it the same name for this paragraph and for this one. But for IDs, we can use as many IDs as we want, but the name of ID is unique. So here I gave my paragraph the name of Salma, but this ID is unique. I cannot use it here. Here I have to use another ID, like I'm just gonna add welcome, like this. So this ID name is welcome. So this paragraph's name is welcome. Alright, so that's all for this video. I hope you liked it, and if so, give us a thumb up and don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more videos about CSS, HTML and JavaScript also.